Hey, this is Robbie Benson.
This is Jeff Benson.
We're here to talk about this 45-minute special making of documentary, only available on DVD, which you've purchased. Thanks for buying it.
Only available on DVD quality. This took a while to make. Why does it look sped up like that?
I don't know. I think it's because it's being played on that screen.
Okay. Robbie and I, much like in our other making of commentary, are talking about a version you possibly aren't seeing, but thanks for buying the DVD anyway.
Yeah, I remember Jeffrey was working on this for a long time. This is basically what most of the DVD's creation involved, and I didn't have a whole lot to do with that other than help record the interviews, which we actually recorded to DVDs because at the time we were out of tapes to record on, and since we were expecting to record a lengthy amount of material, I think we ended up with about 4 hours of interview footage because we had like 4 DVDs, an hour each, and so then we ended up just plugging the DVD player into the computer and transferring them that way by playing DVDs.
Do you think that's probably more time consuming and more tedious than if I don't know. Would you think it was worth doing that as opposed to just buying some tapes?
Yeah, it was, because at the time we didn't have any tapes, and it would have postponed shooting the interviews by about a week because we'd have to wait for them to come in the mail.
All of the fan gamer stuff with Reed and Steve is not recorded by us, obviously. Obviously, because it looks so flat, even though our interviews look pretty flat as well. But Steve and Reed recorded them themselves and then sent it to us via internet.
Have you changed the video things of them yet? Because it's still doing that red and blue thing.
That's how it is.
Okay.
I mean, that's not. Yeah, if you'd notice, whenever Reed was moving there, his hands were turning red. But I think that's the way the videos were compressed when he sent it to me. And honestly, I don't care. Hey, it's Megan.
Robert's got some thick-looking arms in this. Not to flatter him, but I'm just telling it like it is.
Show Megan the mic that we're recording in. Megan, say something. 2008. Say something, cat. So I guess you could say it did take about. All right. Well, you can't really hear it, but we have our cat sitting next to us, and I don't know if she wants out of the room or if she just wants us to pet her, because she's
being a rascal.
We all have beards in this.
Yeah, that's right. I think we recorded this around the time of
2 weeks before. We all took an oath to each other, John, Robert, Robbie, and myself, to try and grow out our beards as long as possible, and eventually, once we all got mutually annoyed with them, shave everything off except for our pube stashes, and then take some pictures.
And so we did. We took a bunch of photos, but those photos will likely not be seen by the masses for some time. I guess what Jeff was trying to do there was get some cutaway footage of me holding the bat, but I wouldn't recommend doing that as somebody's talking because it makes it mandatory that you see that while you're watching the person talk. Unless if you use another cutaway.
Doing this helped me learn a lot in making videos.
Gosh, I haven't seen this plugged in yet.
Oh, really?
This dramatic reenactment. See, when Jeffrey and I told Jeffrey how I envisioned this, or at least I vaguely told him how things would play out, but then Jeffrey interpreted that and made his own envisionment of my vision, so this isn't really how I would have viewed it. Instead, I would have been standing right in front of the steps where I ended up, where the old footage that we have in Chapter 1, where that basically ends up. We end up standing on the edge of the porch, and Trevor would ride a big wheel up and talk to me from there.
The reason why we shot it my way is that my way was really run and gun. It was, there was, I think, less than 2 minutes left on the videotape, or on the mini DV tape. Actually, it might have even been 1 minute. So we didn't have much time to get it incredibly accurate.
Megan looks really stupid right now. We're commenting about something no one can see right now. So, those things look kind of robotic. They don't really look all that great, but it does the job, I think, if it's compressed and you watch it online.
This is a great thing to some nice, wonderful wind hiss and rumble in the background.
You can see in the back, this is in our back room. My dad has a fairly large LP collection, and basically any sort of vintage or any sort of novel junk we gather ends up in that room.
Like small analog TVs and sombreros and Burger King boxes.
Yeah.
Filled with U-matic tapes.
Yep. Yeah, this is pretty funny. Let's do it now.
Hey, you got your Stuff shirt in there.
Yeah, and you can see Stuff. Look that up. Look up that band name.
Yeah, you should explain that's a band. It's not just a novelty shirt that says Stuff.
No, it's got purpose. This shot, all the interviews looked all right. It looked kind of flat, but I think the background helped create the dimension it needed.
You know, I tend to listen to stuff whenever I'm making these documentaries. I was doing that last time I made one of these documentaries also. So bad.
The microphone really appears a lot in this. Like, it appeared earlier when we were doing those sound effects, when we were going, you can see it in the foreground and you can see it back there. And right now we're holding that exact same microphone to record this commentary.
Yeah.
Take.
Yeah.
I like all those buzzwords you throw in.
Who says?
And
who, at the end of a scene, who says take? Yeah. We're moving on, as opposed to cut or okay, let's move on.
Basically, all those buzzwords that show up on screen are things that Jeffrey, having gone through and edited this footage over and over for hours, he gets to know it very intimately, and he notices stupid things that people say, and he calls attention to it. For instance, at some point I say video game, which is grammatically incorrect.
Yeah, you say, and give video game.
Yeah. You'll see it later on, but yeah. I'm amazed I said that. Usually I try to pay attention to what I'm saying and make sure it's coherent.
This commentary you're actually listening to is, I think, 3 or 4 days after the commentary that we recorded for the other documentary, but I'm still kind of getting over that cold that I had. So, excuse me, I'm going to blow my nose.
I'm feeling much better, by the way. I'm no longer taking antibiotics. I'm over it, and I feel quite good.
John's not really in this much.
Yeah, he actually showed up for about 45 minutes to an hour, whatever it was, however long he was interviewed for, like a straight 45 minutes. That was it, and then he left. He showed up and left because he's such a busy art student.
Busy buzzword. Also, Kyle Rollin was interviewed in this. Kyle Rollin is the...
Does he ever appear?
No, I actually didn't put any of his stuff in here, and I feel bad because he showed up just to be interviewed, and then he took off afterwards.
That's my girlfriend I shoved aside there.
With a wig on.
Bay.
So anyway, Kyle Rollin was the boss guy from the Runaway 5 manager.
As well as one of the Runaway 5 members, the guitar player.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like how these making ofs allow us to just kind of show patterns in what we do, not specific scenes or not specific instances of whatever, but patterns of multiple instances, and you get to just look as, in a broad sense, you see how I kept complaining over and over the course of hours.
The hardest scene to film was this small little joke of where I say that and then I pause. That lasted for probably about 30 seconds and then I cut it.
Yeah, I think realistically probably about 15 to 20 seconds, but it did feel pretty long.
It felt like half the documentary.
Cassie Hayes broke up with Jeff.
See, this is an example of John being really funny and then
When Robbie says that, he means John's not being very funny.
no, it's just I think I'm just repeating what we said in the other making of commentary. It's how John's the funny one, and I'm the pointlessly serious one.
You say...
Okay, so yeah, I don't remember complaining much about this. The way it's edited makes me look like a real wuss.
Yeah, you weren't really complaining about it, obviously. You were just calling attention to it. And you said that you hope it gets shown in the movie, and I think you might have suffered a little bit of damage or something like that to your head because you didn't recall it. That was only about half an hour after it happened, and there was only one take done of that. So it had to be in the movie. Now Megan, our cat, is crawling all over us.
Great, Megan. She's here to have fun.
He's now laying on the bed that we're sitting on.
What can we say now? Well, I can say that we've made basically 3. I've already mentioned this, how we've done like 3 making ofs.
Yeah.
All right, I won't repeat that.
One thing I never really got into in any of these things was during the making of EarthBound 4, after Cassie and I had broken up, I tried to get back together with her for about a month and a half, and during which she had become a prominent cigarette smoker, and I decided that would probably be in my best interest to take up the habit in order to appeal to her more. So in all of this footage, I was a pretty active smoker, and it really didn't help the production very much. I can actually recall specific instances where I got angry at people.
Robert's mom's really getting into it, and I was just laughing about 10 seconds ago. There's this wide shot that I'm kind of panning around and looking at Jeff, and Vicky's just like doing the same exact thing. She's just really into it. Yeah, we were trying to think of props and things to hold on to while being interviewed, and we just dug around we wanted to give each person their own specific prop or setup. And Jeffrey had his 8mm camera, which we don't use, and we haven't used yet, but we bought and hope to use.
Right there, John said point. I don't know what... he was obviously trying to say point, but he screwed it up and didn't even realize it.
Also, okay, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you go ahead and do what you wanted to say.
John doesn't normally wear pink shirts like that, but that's another example of us just trying to be funny for interviews.
Well, there's a story behind that shirt. That was actually my first girlfriend.
Megan's falling over.
Megan's crawling all over us right now and falling off at the same time. My cat's very old, you see. But that...
You'll see.
Yeah, my cat's very old, Yossi. As you can see, that the title of the song changes 3 times in a matter of seconds. It's One Enchanted Evening.
What is an enchanted evening?
One enchanted evening and then some enchanted evening. So it changes 3 times. But that picture that John wore, that was given to me by my first girlfriend when I was 14, and I thought it'd be really different of me as a boy to request to wear a pink shirt. Little did I know that was actually one of the most typical things a boy my age could want. I think I was trying to just fit in. That girl also I never got to meet. She was an online girlfriend.
Turn off the lights. It was Kyle hanging on to the same mic where I'm holding on to right now. We treat this thing not too well. You're not supposed to talk directly into shotgun mics.
This was filmed at the Coyote Grange Hall.
Yeah.
Coyote is a small town, and I'm not kidding, of a population probably somewhere around 20. Mm-hmm. It's actually... It doesn't even have enough people in it to be called a town. I don't know where I heard that saying.
Kind of like a transitional region between 2 cities.
But it's on the way to Morgan Hill, California, which is 30 miles south of San Jose, where we live. And so that was there, and we shot that there, and it could have been better.
I agree with what Robert's saying. Right there, that shot is pretty defining of him looking like a kid in his dad's suit. Why did you have a bandage on your arm during these interviews?
Because I had given blood earlier that day after downing a half a can of Red Bull, which apparently is bad for when you want to give blood because it constricts your blood veins. And then Robbie, who purposefully didn't drink anything to constrict his blood veins, didn't get to give blood because his blood pressure was too high.
My heart rate was too high specifically. It was, I don't know about my pressure. And the same thing has happened since. It's really annoying. I don't specifically remember much from this era when we were recording all these things. That's a hazy part of my memory. It's like 2 years ago. I have a buffer of about 2 years of my memory, and then beyond that point, I don't remember things unless if it's a significant thing.
You and I were talking the other day very briefly, though, about how during the making of, like, the third EarthBound Saga, that was a phase in our lives where we were all very angry with each other for virtually no reason. It was probably one of the most intense points of our lives where we complained the most about each other directly to each other's faces.
I don't remember a whole lot of that, but I'd believe it. I know only recently we've become more friendly with each other.
This sounds really bad. What we mean by that, or what I mean by that, rather, is you know how when you're close to people, it's really easy to nitpick, and that was a phase in our lives where we did that very frequently. Fallout 3.
He's also hanging on to a tripod. That's the tripod we use for all of our movies. That $10 tripod. Actually, we have a much more nice tripod. I think it probably runs for about $150. But we got it for free from friends.
We have friends who steal things.
Who all together they congregate outside of video stores and steal things. So this is the first appearance of Morgan in the making of, and she's holding onto a tripod, not a tripod, a frying pan, frying pod.
I held onto it.
Gosh, I haven't seen that before. That's annoying.
You haven't seen a lot of this stuff.
A lot of my faces are just really annoying in this. I wanted to mention that when I talk about how what my inspirations are for just people that I think have funny faces and people whose faces I try to mimic, the examples given, and I guess they are just the best examples there are. I mean, it's the only kind of funny stuff there is, I'm assuming, from what Jeff could find.
There are others, but they're so fast. Like, during battle scenes when I'm moving the camera around, you do some really funny things, but you can't zoom in on it digitally. It goes way too fast. If you slow it down, it just looks like a mushy pile of nothing.
And I basically, for me, when I listen to me talk about that, and then you see these examples, it just looks really pathetic. It's like me... I can't really make an analogy. Just look at it. It's just I'm not a very good actor, and I'm talking about. I drive various inspirations from some of these great actors and comedians. Good for you, Robbie.
No one liked me as Paula. In general, it doesn't bother me that people feel that
I like the music that's used in a lot of this stuff. It has a nice tone, and it usually goes along with the pace of the interview and whatever's spoken about.
I want to point out also that during this documentary specifically, whenever a topic about my ex-girlfriend comes up, I specifically, as a joke, was trying to make it seem as if I was very bitter towards her. I'm not that bitter towards her. I don't really talk to her frequently, but nevertheless, I was trying to make it seem as a joke that I was trying to make her look as bad as possible. Hence that last screenshot you saw of her where her eyes were half closed.
This is I wanted to say, I'm also very much of an idiot when about 30 seconds ago when I smashed Morgan's face with the bat. I only bumped her forehead, but just the reaction I give, it's just, I'm not used to hurting somebody. It's like, that's an experience you get when you're maybe 8, 7, 5 years old or something, and I'm at that point 19 years old, and I hit somebody in the head, and I just kind of have to go, hey, you all right? Sorry.
Actually, you were 20 at the time.
Okay, yeah, because I had turned, okay.
Yeah. You're even more of a doofus.
Mm-hmm.
My least favorite actor is definitely I'm my favorite actor.
John being funny again.
Yeah. This whole joke of everybody disliking John's performance and liking mine, started with Robert. This clip right here, Robert started it, and then from that point on, all the successive interviews kind of just followed that pattern to make a joke out of it. But I agree with them.
John. I don't know. I, for the most part, dislike everybody else.
So,
Sometimes John. I think John does an okay job.
The character I think I'd be good at playing in future EarthBound
this is
Saga
an ongoing joke, which we touched on in the last making of,
because I think that I am
about Robert thinking poo is the shiz.
Oh yeah, and then earlier I forgot how Robert actually says Ness should have had a pink tummy though, I think. I threw that audio in from the thing.
Yeah. But Robert he's really hamming up this whole joke which is left over from the last making of.
It's not very creative.
I thought it was funny how he's talking how he's studying Eastern
That was
religions.
I think he's probably okay. I think he's
This is stuff that, again, I forgot happened. But that's what's fun, is basically making a making of is an excuse to look through all your raw footage and you find a bunch of little funny nuggets of
fun. After I tackled Robert, in that clip you saw, we all went out and we got frozen custard.
which is a yogurt, but they call it frozen custard at this place. I want to say, Jeff, your hair in this looks like, I mean, it is your pompadour deflated. Somebody popped it and it exploded. You can see
remnants of pompadour fluid.
Yeah, exactly. This gel.
Well, I should also point out that Robbie knows this, I specifically wanted to look like this in the documentary. I actually went as far as to put a little bit of dark makeup under my eyes to make myself look sick. I thought it'd be funny.
I forgot you did that. In fact, I didn't know.
You knew at the time, but you don't remember anymore, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be noticed by many people.
So this is nice.
Really,
this is nice.
Really giving it to Robert. Really showing him who's boss.
This is good. I'm really glad Jeff finally got this taken care of, because this has been an ongoing feud. Actually, Jeffrey's doing exactly what I did with the Robert and Ravi making of, which
Really?
yeah, because I basically
audio overdubs.
Usually our making ofs have to involve some segment where we target Robs
And dehumanize him.
we basically and we don't really think about the fact that we're going to at some point have to sit down and watch this with him sitting next to us and witness his reaction.
He's a lot better though now. Like when he first did the Robert and Ravi thing, I think he was pretty annoyed.
He had no idea that I was going to take out some aggression on him in the whole thing.
But in this, he finds it funny. Or rather, he's more passive about it. He doesn't care as much. Again, see, we're all much better friends now.
Right.
We've only been friends for 6 months.
When we did
This is funny.
I forgot about this. Yeah, this is an example. This is just Robert being fun-loving and annoying in the process.
I think this is a really good example of what Marlon Brando in On the Waterfront would call cute.
Whoa, there's a giant can of beans next to his head.
Yeah,
I didn't notice that.
and he wants money for food.
He just can't afford a can opener. He can't invent one either.
He's also in a kitchen where there's logically going to be a can opener.
Hey, by the way, actually, I'm not totally sure, but I think up in the top of that kitchen, up on the top of the wall, there is 4 paintings, some of which are visible on the wall in feed time, which you'll see on this DVD, because we've moved the paintings to the wall in the other room where we shot feed time.
First film of Onette's.
At some point in this documentary, there's some shots of John where he's talking. They actually might have already passed, but if you go back at some point in the DVD and keep an eye on the left corner of any of John's takes or any of his interviews, at some point Robert's head appears in the corner, like
Keep an eye on it. You can point it out.
it might have already passed. It probably has already passed, but
we followed the game.
yeah, that was funny. Robert climbed behind the curtain when we were interviewing John and stuck his head out, and you really can't notice unless you're looking for it, which makes it really funny.
Mainly go unnoticed by fans.
The shadows on my chest really make me look like I'm muscular.
And that's kind of surprising because I think people don't pay attention to them. There's just these really funny things that Robbie does when Paul is doing a PSI
Shucks.
shoot.
Thanks, Jeff.
Kind of squad. I think the main thing I
I'm
like
wearing
about
the same shirt right now.
the stuff in the
I didn't notice
Right
that.
here.
I don't ever look at my brother. I refuse to look at him.
I refuse to acknowledge his existence.
kicking something around the back, waiting for the scene to be over so he can leave.
Yep.
Most of the battle scenes.
What can we say?
boss battle scenes
don't
are
say
Robert's got some big arms there.
Yeah, he's got some massive hams.
Jeff and Robbie's neighbors.
Guys wanna go
at the
play
garage
football?
Usually lets us go in there when it's not a car.
That's the original EarthBound box there that Jeffrey and I
That's right.
got when we first got the game. Well, we rented the game, as I think we mentioned in the other making of. Yeah. Then we bought it.
This is kind of an insight to how whimsical our fight scenes go, of course, and I'm sure it shows in the final product. But this is our communication. And anyway, it's kind of funny. There's Robert, bottom left. You can see his face peeking out behind John's butt.
Yeah, he's really kind of obscured by that pole, but yeah.
We will ask him, hey, can we use your garage for that? For a scene
I like when we put the EarthBound anthology provided by Fangamer on its back with a glare on it in these interviews. Nobody's gonna look at that and say, "Wow, it's the anthology." They're just gonna think, "Why'd you guys put a white piece of paper on the desk or on the stool?" Tell us about this.
So this is kind of silly. Jeffrey, when he was editing this making of, he took the segment where John mentions we did this movie in our neighbor's garage, and Jeff said it'd be funny if we just threw in a 2-minute preview for that movie. I had just recently finished editing that movie, coincidentally, around that time, and so Jeffrey said, throw something together, and so I did. In about 5 hours, I made this, just for the sake of the making of.
It probably took you about 6 or 7 hours.
Yeah, it could have been.
You were in here for a while. But even diving further into the history of this movie, we made this actually, like, I think, it was before Bobby's House.
Yeah, definitely. It was
This is a lost
few months
Ubsey movie.
before Bobby's House. We ended up with, this was like a 5-tape movie with 5 hours of footage. Plus, we did a lot of making of stuff too with other cameras. But yeah, this is supposed to be a big production from UbseyMovies. That was going to be the first real movie we put time and effort into without a real deadline.
Yeah, this was supposed to be... See, after we completed Chicken Strip Jeff in 2005? 2006. No, it's 2005.
It was 2006, and then it went into 2007. It was fall of
Oh, okay.
2006.
Well, whatever it was, after we completed Chicken Strip Jeff, we thought, well, now we're really branching off into more dramatic filmmaking. So let's do an ensemble cast with a bunch of characters that are so fun-loving.
Yeah. A
And it-
multi-plot film.
It turned out so bad. It's
Yeah.
really,
the characters
really bad.
are very shallow. It's crudely put together. I mean, it looks okay for
For what
the
it is,
time,
it
but-
looks. For what it is, it looks good. We had very, very limited knowledge.
Basically, I call this a slick chic production. In fact, I put that title in there because really this is just a movie of no substance, but it's kind of slick.
Yeah. This audio is actually Robin Edwards. You EarthBound Saga fans might remember him from the April Fool's EarthBound Saga is canceled video. But we actually recorded that audio of him talking about the summer dance in the Ubsey TV episode 12, the summer episode. We were going to put that summer dance movie in that, but
We didn't finish the movie in time. And
we didn't necessarily finish it in time. We just didn't want to.
Yeah.
It was Robbie wanted to finish it because he knew how bad it was going to be, but all of us kept telling him not to finish it because it was a waste of time and we had other projects going on. And he just recently, in the last 2 months, has gotten around to it.
Yeah. It's just a loose end I wanted to tie up and feel like I have a clean slate to work on new stuff now.
Yeah.
PSI 8. I mentioned this I won't repeat myself. Never mind.
Yeah.
I didn't know what Jeff was gonna do to top what we had done in Chapter 2 when I said PSI rockin', but Jeffrey threw some new special effects in, and I think it did exceed fan expectations.
I think the yeah thing helped it also.
Mm-hmm. See, like, you can see that right here, that's Chapter 2, and how simple and quick we knocked things out. We just had the screen flash blue a couple times, and that was an effect. But now it's composited.
Yeah. So this is Jeremy Inman. He is a...
I just wanted to mention, in the title of Jeremy Inman, there's a little dash next to his profession or whatever his status is, and you can see a little triangle behind it because that's the play of the DVD player when we transfer the footage.
I could have put a little mat over it to mask it so you couldn't see it, but I thought, well, it looks fine.
I just noticed that for the first time now.
Yeah. So he was around, and he wanted to write something with me. We were working on a short film together, or a short video rather, and I didn't really have time to do much writing, and so he was just around for the interview, and I thought it'd be funny to interview him. He most likely will wind up being the producer or some kind of person that's going to help me out with EarthBound 5. But he's a good filmmaker friend of ours.
Right now I can't.
That's saying something that he's going to be helping out, because that means production of EarthBound 5 is going to be much bigger.
Yeah.
That's a silly sound.
Yeah.
You do it, Jeff.
I think I'm as close to Lucas
Okay.
as Robbie is to Ness.
Let me try again.
I'm always amazed whenever I see Jeremy, because he seems like he's just running on 4 hours of sleep, but he's generally on the ball, and he's able to answer questions, and like, especially us when he first started hanging out with us or meeting us. It would
Chicken
be
shit Jeff.
It would be Jeffrey, me, and sometimes Robert and John. All four of us would be hitting him from every direction, just throwing random questions at him and talking, and he'd just be right there, ready to take on anything we threw at him. And I've always been amazed by that ability of his.
He told me once, just recently actually, he said,
Look at him, he's just dying right there. He's just like, yeah.
I remember a little while ago, I was in the car with him, and we were kind of reminiscing of when we first met, and he said, for like the first 6 months I knew you guys were just so on with everything. You guys never dropped trying to be funny. And I thought that we weren't making him laugh, but we were just never serious with him. And he said at some point, and I don't remember this, he said to us, so do you guys ever drop this, or is this just your big shtick? And it sounded so mean, but I don't remember it at all.
I don't remember that either. When I have never really looked into the original Mother, whatever products and things, but initially I thought that Mother poster was fan made or something, but that's real. Oh,
That's Robin.
Robin's a fun guy.
Yeah.
thought it was an April Fool's joke and nobody played into it. Which
People who saw this April Fool's joke got really angry. I didn't really mention it in this, but some people got extremely angry. I got some emails that are threats, actually, like physical threats. Not that they were gonna take them up on it or anything. They were saying, well, considering you guys don't have anything worthwhile, looks like I'm just gonna have to unsubscribe from you unless if you get your asses in gear. Just really vulgar things. I guess they weren't necessarily physical threats.
Coming from somebody who's just, because I want more EarthBound Saga entertainment. Get your butts together and make some more videos for me.
Like, what are we getting? What are you giving to me, man? What are you doing for me?
I love that. That's so funny with Robin saying the next EarthBound, or what is it, UbseyMovies. He just, that's a perfect example of us just giving him very little direction and him just ad-libbing, and whatever comes out works.
That was Megan on my lap right there, and she's sitting next to Robbie right now. Or she's
sleeping now. Let's just let her sleep.
Everybody gotta be quiet now. This was fun.
This is a funny anecdote. I liked it. I don't quite understand what Reedman says. He says something like the tone had changed in the house like wind.
No.
I don't know what he
No,
said.
Listen, he says,
Hold on.
And the peace in the house was
The
broken
peace.
like wind.
The peace in the house was broken like wind.
Yeah, even that doesn't make sense to me. The peace in the house.
I've narrowed it down to two things. One, either I was in the bathroom and I was taking a large crap or
Also,
something.
I figured that, but just the way it was phrased, is
Yeah.
that a common phrase out in Arizona? The peace in the house is broken like wind.
Or the other option I came up with was I made Camille so uncomfortable that I broke all of the peace in the house without even trying. I'm hoping it was not the latter. On a roll.
Yeah. Jeffrey got a jacket from the army or something at that store, and he came back from Tucson wearing it, and he wore it for a good couple months since.
I've never washed it either.
Yeah.
I'm actually looking at it right now. It's right there.
Huh.
It's covered up by a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
But since
It's covered up by the Nest shirt.
it's set by priorities.
We should. I don't know if I mentioned, but the Nest shirt hasn't been washed, I think, since the first episode. Maybe it
No,
was
you
once.
washed it after the second one.
Okay, yeah. I think because it had been tossed around in the dirt. But, yeah. We really haven't washed much of the... My shorts changed, but everything else is pretty much dirty.
This is this is my last night in Arizona, and we hadn't made a video yet, and we all talked about how we wanted to make one. And we were thinking, we'll put it up online, and it'll be a real crack up for the fans of everything. And we never put it online, and so instead I decided, I'm going to put it on a DVD, and that way hopefully people will want to buy it more. But anyway, I finally got around to editing it. It took me like 3 months to finally get around to it. And I thought, this is funny, but what would make it really weird is if I put music that sounded a lot like A Clockwork Orange in it. And so we had some royalty-free music that's really depressing sounding, and so I put it in here, and I think it really rips every
I make EarthBound videos.
fun-loving element out of the entire short.
Whatever this is
I like that little line there.
That's the army jacket I bought.
I like how you just... You stall for a while, then you continue talking, and then you turn your head and close your eyes and continue talking. You're just rolling at the mouth, not just completely blocking off any potential to be intercepted. You're just a one-way force.
Look at nice production design there. Reed's got a halo above his head. Well, it's not so much anymore. Now it is. It's like he's some kind of god
That's a CD.
or an angel. No, that's a...
No, because he's technologically adept, not inept.
Reed is holding the camera here. What's funny is that
It's all those DVDs on the right.
those
Or
aren't
those
DVDs,
are
those
shirts.
are shirts.
Okay. See, I'm just a filmmaker. I always see DVDs and things. Yesterday I was at the store and I thought I saw a DVD walking by me, but it was my friend.
This is immediately where the entire skit starts going over everybody's head who doesn't know what an XFIS is. Well, it really is a user on Starman.net or a staff member who also makes videos.
He's really working hard at messing those up. I heart New York shirt.
Okay, you can't see it here, and I'm really glad you don't, because there's you do see it there. Wow. I have a giant rip in the crotch of those jeans that I'm wearing, and it's not small. When I say giant, I mean like softball size rip. And I'm luckily wearing underwear, so it's not that big of a deal. But if you go back and look while I'm getting up, you could probably see it. And also you can see an UbseyMovies sticker on the left of Reed's face right now.
In the brightness.
Yeah.
How accurate was this as a portrayal to how they go about cleaning things in the room there?
It wasn't accurate because it was dirty when I showed up, and I sat around while Reed was cleaning it up, and I said, "Can I help do anything?" He says, "You can help me move this, or you can help me move that." But for the most part, he just gave me a box of EarthBound stuff and said, "Here, look at all this." Like I was like a child who he just gave some toys to. Not that I wasn't having fun; I enjoyed it. I just couldn't at the time. I didn't know anything about the mailroom, and I still really don't. But I couldn't help him sort things out. This is where it takes a really weird turn. And again, to really just solidify the grudge that the editor is supposed to be holding towards his girlfriend.
I like this. Jeffrey, didn't you make this like a year or two ago?
Yeah, about a year and a half ago, and I never got to use it.
That's right. We had recently uploaded that clip of me saying I pull my leg hairs out because
I wrote that review of Robert and Robbie that was really ripping it apart.
We just wanted to, years after that movie's done and years after we've decided unanimously that we hate it, we have clips of the movie on.
Yeah. So this is the wrap up.
I don't think I've seen this fully yet. Maybe I have. Look at that.
There's
Megan.
Megan's so happy.
Right now she's unconscious and unaware that we're watching her on movie magic. There she is.
Gosh. Megan is, I think, 16 years old.
Could be, yeah, because, I was 6 or 7 when we got her, so I'm probably about 15.
15.
If I had to describe future EarthBound Saga episodes, I would say stupendous, well right, excellent.
This is nice.
Straight into your face. This is gonna be balls to the wall.
I hope people aren't watching this with the commentary first, because I'm going to say this ending is actually... This is a really big trick. I mean, it really... this is one of the very few times I purposefully try to manipulate the audience into believing that I made something that was worthwhile. I don't really think this is a good documentary, because it's very sporadically put together, and that ending makes it feel as if it's really wrapping it up and tying it in a nice, pretty bow, just because of the music.
The host of these games. Well, thanks for watching.
Thanks, everybody. And, thanks a lot for buying the DVD.
Yeah, we appreciate it. It's funding our future endeavors.
It's over. It's over.